Hi, welcome back to my channel. I want to do a video about the idea of not putting too much weight on certain circumstances when they happen, and also taking things as lessons when they are them. So like in the world at large as well, because I always go on about how the world is different and changing and how it's too one size fits all, which I'm still on that train. Featuring, I don't know if I'll put the word mukbang as a joke in the title, but I've literally got, I mean, I find it funny and it's like not going to be funny to everyone, but I've literally got a milkshake and some chips. So if that counts as a mukbang, then great. So whether I mention that or not, it depends how humorous I feel in that moment. But yeah, as much as sometimes when I look at my videos back, I think obviously the world isn't just gonna like change with the like drop of a hat. But I also think, like, I feel like there's reasons for certain things, and I'm still a person that learns in the world. But I also think to have activists and people like me that are going to talk about the things that need to be changed means that that's going to be put into the universe, and that sort of stuff can start happening. Because even if it's just like a mindset shift for the collective, you know. Because I think I should eat a moldy tomato. These are from yesterday. Anyway, yeah, because I don't know, certain things happen sometimes, and it just reminds me how fucking out of touch I was with like the like mainstream thing in my school years, because I was always very much like halfway out the door basically, and I like just literally was there because I had to be, and like I wasn't like I literally had bad mental health at the end of school because I literally was there because I had to be, and I just had to like manage my extreme anxiety and autism without any support. But again, that being like kind of irrelevant to this story in some ways, is just that, like, you know, I saw this video, for example, about someone homeschooling their children, and I did a video on this which I never posted, but it's relevant to this video because I saw a great channel. I've seen many great channels of people homeschooling their children and documenting it on YouTube and sharing it on YouTube, which is a lovely thing to do. But it's basically where social services get involved. Not, again, I'm not demonising necessarily social services, but I feel like overall, you hear horror stories, and at the end of the day, you're not always going to get nice people there, but it's the same anywhere. But I feel like sometimes there are a lot of well-meaning support workers in the world. So I used to be a support worker. Social workers are different, but social workers is what I mean, not support workers. But it's a sense that you can't like go with the groupthink mentality. This whole astrological era is completely. Am I going to mention astrology again? It's about how the world is different than it was previously, where we look to ourselves rather than other people. And, you know, sometimes I feel like people come along as lessons just to kind of validate the way that you're going is good. Because, you know, I do think anomalies happen and silly things happen, ridiculous things happen, and there are consequences to people's actions. You know, if you make a silly choice, or you make a choice that's wrong, or you make a mistake, you know, there's going to be consequences to that, and that's one thing. But I also think, you know, and really bad things can happen, and people can have, like, you know, I do believe in this too shall pass, so I feel like things happen, yeah, and sometimes they're really awful, and things like deaths and murders and all the really dark shit that can happen on this planet, but, you know, I do feel like this too shall pass, you know, at the end of the day, and there is redemption and joy available after any life situation that happens. But just to preface that, because I don't want it to be like, you know, just start with that awful note. You have to put things in balance, and I feel like that's half of the fucking battle for managing this planet, I swear. Most of it, to be honest. 95% of the battle is your fucking mindset. But I feel like you can't like look to the collective for your life management, and obviously people are always going to do this on their own spectrum, and it's not about me being a fucking god complex and coming up and being like, I feel like when I make these videos, yes, maybe I am channeling fucking divine mindset or like the god consciousness or whatever. Like on YouTube you see these meditations like god consciousness, maybe I am channeling the god consciousness, and fucking so what if I am, you know, when I'm making these videos. But it's like, you know, I don't believe that necessarily I'm going to be the person to prove this to everyone's life, and like everyone should listen to me or anything like that. I'm making a fucking YouTube video for the people that want to watch it. And the fact is, people literally shouldn't like give a fuck what other people are doing. Like, I feel like it's one thing, right? But it's bearing in mind that there's like always going to be a reason for one size fits all mentality, and it's usually just the old astrological era. But it's also that just because one person does it or a group of people do it doesn't make it right for you. You know, and this can go along with culture, it can go in religion, and also things change. So if things are good for you in one period of time, but then they're not good for you in the next period of time, relationships, definitely a massive thing. You know, sometimes, not always, often if you have long-standing relationships, they can evolve with you. But sometimes it's the same thing there, where one relationship works for you for a period of time, and then after that period of time, it doesn't work for you for reasons. And, you know, it's like just recognising that what one person does is not going to be necessarily functional for another person. And I think genetics comes into this as well, and the way people are wired. And I think culture just really is a collective representation of people's needs genetically and how they've evolved as human beings, being in that kind of body, and how that group of people have evolved to be in that place. But yeah, it's definitely like, because some people don't understand. I do bring culture up a lot in my videos, because, you know, I believe that my grandma was Irish, and I definitely mostly relate to the like gypsy mentality. Obviously I'm English, but I'm also Irish, and I think the way I function is very like gypsy-ish, like gypsy traveller energy. Much so I definitely relate to that, like, as my most fucking, you know, more than English, to be honest. Like, that would be the culture. I like to put myself as white British, but that would be my like most followed culture, you know. So whether you want to call it Irish gypsy or really gypsy, I don't know. Or just the mindsets and the functioning. I don't really want to go into what's involved in that, but regardless of what culture people are, culture is culture. People are still human beings, regardless of what kind of cultural practices you follow. People are still human beings in their own right, so whatever. But I feel like I've definitely always felt the need to kind of repress my culture in school and stuff, because of like the collective being like English, or being English, because I grew up in England. But it's not healthy, especially with people that have other cultures that are very, very different to English culture. You know, if you're European or anything else, you know, it can be really challenging when you're a culture within a country that is not that culture's origin. Even, you know, so at the end of the day, culture being what it is, you can't, you know, I feel like it's really important, and it not humbles me, it actually liberates me to a place sometimes where it's, and this is why I bring the idea of putting certain weight on certain stuff and not putting weight on other stuff. Because if you put weight on an experience or on someone else's opinion of your choices, you know, I definitely think that we fragment our egos, into what we portray and what we believe about ourselves and what we portray to others, so therefore what other people believe about us, with the opinions of others, and with trauma especially. And it can be quite traumatic to have someone externally, whether they're validated by the law or the fucking, you know, fucking justice system, or fucking any systems, the social system or the fucking school system, whatever, to have them confront your core personality and your innate personality is definitely something we're coming into Aquarius, is working from ourselves. And I did just fart. Anyway, let's just let that be. Moving on. I'm eating McDonald's and I'm having quite a lot to say. So nervous fart. I'm so sorry. Let's just let that be. So no, if anyone clicks off because of that, then so yeah. But yeah, if you're validated by the justice system or whatever, it doesn't matter. You are still having your core personality, and this happens for people that work in these systems as well. I'm sure that's also annoying, but at the same time, you do get shitty people, I find, that work in certain jobs, just like that. Just whether I feel like sometimes they can just get too comfortable in their jobs and take out their own bullshit on like a client or a customer, or, you know, a service user or something like that. And it's just like, it's not acceptable really, regardless of if you've got like inept social skills or like whatever your issue is. It's really like not acceptable to kind of take shit out on people. You know, especially if they feel like you've got your shit together and they haven't got their shit together. It's really not okay. But anyway, regardless of that, you have to just kind of like navigate that, and it really fucking sucks when that happens. I've definitely had seasons of that, but not anymore at the moment, which is amazing. And that's gonna now happen, isn't it? But anyway, so actually I did have it happen recently, so that's okay. So anyway, so I feel like when stuff doesn't happen for a long time, something comes around again. But yeah, I feel like if you put too much weight on other people's opinions, not only do you fragment, especially if they're opposing, because at the end of the day, the nature of the planet is that we have opposing beliefs or have contradictory or slightly uncomplimentary beliefs, only because we're not supposed to be glued at the hip to the vast majority of the people, or really any people. I mean, you know, you're going to have like your family and your people that you spend a lot of time with, and even your friends. You shouldn't necessarily you don't have to make your life choices with them at your hip all the time, especially people that aren't in that group. So having someone like, because the way, I don't know whether it's cultural sometimes, or just, as I say, ignorance or trauma of their own, people can be very aggressive, and also because of other people's cultures, they internalize the criticism as a personal attack, and therefore fragment parts of themselves where it really might not even be meant in that way. But this is why it's really important to navigate people's cultures. Sometimes it just happens like that, where you do get a culture clash, and you do get situations where people, like, there's kind of misunderstandings, but also you do get people that are just generally shitty. But yeah, as you say, whether you call it culture clash or just bad life situations where you just get people miscommunicating and it's taken the wrong way, or people that do bully, and to be fair, and narcissistic abuse and blah blah, there's all that stuff as well. So yeah, I suppose, like, just, yeah, because if you put too much weight on what people say, you're not gonna be very forward thinking in what you're doing as a person, you know. And it's so important. I think you have your aspirations anyway. I feel like these things get put on hold when you've got a lot of stress, in my opinion, or a lot of responsibilities. But I think you do generally have your aspirations, or where if you have any ideas to where you want to move towards or whatever. But it can be really limiting, especially if something's wrong for you. Like, it's about advocating for yourself in a one-size-fits-all system, which, to be honest with you, it's easy to box yourself in this no one understands me mindset for whatever reason, because you've got childhood trauma, because you've got autism, because you've got a culture issue, because you've got I don't know, certain beliefs, or you know, you prefer, you do different things that certain other people do, or whatever, or you have a certain way of doing things, whatever. Everyone does it to a level or another. For the sake of, I'm telling you, like, to advocate for yourself, trust me, moving forward is going to have to be really, really important for people, and it won't just be one person that does it. It just depends in what aspect, because at the end of the day, when I talk about collective trauma and people like shitting on you, not necessarily shitting on you advocating for yourself, but sometimes not only can it just be misinterpreted, like, I'm not being funny, even in systems where you've got loads and loads of people doing the same thing, like, even that perpetuates trauma to the individual and to the collective, because they assume that the trauma, that, you know, that's what's meant to happen, that, you know, I don't really want to explain exactly what I mean, because I feel like my point is generally coming across in that to advocate for yourself is going to be really important, and especially knowing how to within systems, and knowing your rights, even if you've had negative circumstances. And I think especially if you've had negative circumstances, it's really important to advocate for yourself. Or everyone has their own circumstances at the end of the day, you know, whether it is cultural, whether it is personal, or, you know, health, or anything, family, something like that. You know, it's really important to be able to advocate for yourself, because at the end of the day, everyone goes through hardship, and it also it means that people don't act as out of line as well. I think when you can have compassion for yourself, and I think this is the issue about the older generations and the boomers that were literally validated, like, because they were, like, abused as children, basically, and it was normal to fucking wallop them all when they were, like, children, and so they're all fucked up, and they, like, think that Gen Z are too fucking, you know, like, I don't know, they don't respect the Gen Zs and stuff, and they don't respect young people because they were so fucking abused as children that they don't understand what normal healthy behaviour is. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion, but I'm pretty sure most people would validate that. But it really has fucked them all up. I will definitely believe that. But at the end of the day, it was a different world back then, I suppose. But at the same time, it's, you know, so that trauma definitely is within the collective that needs to be managed, I think, because yes or no. Just to get to the very end point, because I actually do want to post this video. I just don't want it to be a rambly video for like an hour, because no one wants to sit through that necessarily if I'm not like on a super high note for the whole thing. But yeah, it is just really important to advocate, because people respect it as well. Like, when, you know, it's not about having people's respect. Another thing was to not find necessarily validation from other people and to find it from internally, which I've already touched on, but people do respect it at the end of the day, and it makes you interesting to be able to advocate for yourself. But yeah, I was just saying, like, yeah, regardless of your circumstances, like, it's going to have to happen anywhere, because no one else is going to do it for you. And often if you don't, it comes out by the wayside and you become passive aggressive, or you develop mental illness, or you I don't know, just have a whole host of issues, or behavioural, interactional issues. You know, if you need to be aware of something within yourself, that's always going to be the best way to move forward, rather than bung it down or attack someone else for not recognising your needs, basically. Because that's another thing that can happen. You blame the other person, and I suppose this is almost me doing that, but at the same time I'm aware that sometimes things are just out of your control, and it can feel very traumatizing and attacking when things are out of your control, and like societies and authorities come up and try and sort of control your processes. But at the same time, I definitely believe that if people have you know, given things, particular things aren't involved, you know, there are circumstances where having authorities and stuff involved is going to be beneficial, you know, and that's what they're there for, I suppose. But also, if you feel like things are going the right way, it can be validating sometimes to see that you're doing a good job in certain scenarios, and that, like, it's not necessary for authorities and stuff to be kind of monitoring you, if you like, and you're able to kind of manage yourself without that sort of micromanagement. It can be very validating to the individual that has to have that happen. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it there, so thanks for listening.